Hey everyone, Joe Waxman. And in this video, I want to look at the astrology of fine art. There's mostly painters and drawers, a couple, at least one sculptor, or I mean, some artists are multimedia, but yeah, there's mostly painting and drawing. And there are a lot in here, so I just want to get right into it. Guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on any individual. We're just going to kind of go through the list because there really is a lot. Some of these are going to be more famous. Some of these are going to be less famous people. Some you might not have heard of. I pretty much know all these. I have a background in arts. I went to art school, so all of these were familiar. George Braque was a Cubist contemporary of Picasso, if you're not familiar. So just think about Cubism, and it helps to have an idea in mind of what kind of art these particular painters are drawing. And what I hope to look at is or find or discover is patterns. And one of the main patterns that we'll look at for everyone famous. I mean, the ascendant will always play in there, and it's going to be iconic. The ascendant will bring in an iconic element to whatever that person represents. You'll see their name will be bigger, bolder, their personality, their persona. That's all going to be highlighted with the ascendant. But for drawing, definitely third house. All arts, fifth house, right? And then 12th house for creativity in general. 10th house for career. Okay, so huge Taurus and Gemini stellium, right? So perfect for the arts. Taurus, huge for the arts, beauty, right? Gemini for drawing. And this is a cubist, remember. So let's see here. Neptune conjunct Saturn, and Chiron conjunct Sun. And Chiron, remember, a lot of people think is like a negative element, only denoting wounds and healing, but that's not really the case. It's often seen in very creative people because it brings in that mythical, really, really out of the box quality, where anything kind of goes. Pluto, south node Pluto, right? Then Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, and Gemini. So highly expressive individual, George Braque, but Mercury's in Gemini, really dignifying the Jupiter and Venus, and the seventh house, Venus being the MC Lord, Jupiter being the ascendant Lord. Let's see what else. Venus dispositing this whole stellium in Taurus, sixth house and fifth house somewhat. Actually, the fifth house cusp is in Aries, and that's ruled by Mars. Mars is in Leo in the eighth house, eighth quadrant anyway. But yeah, just generally you can see like really, really strong concentration in Taurus and Gemini, with Gemini being in very good dignity. And I'll just check the sheets real quick. Okay, nothing stands out here. Mercury gets exceptionally high scores. Sun and Moon have mutual reception by exaltation. Right, they're in each other's sign of exaltation, so that's fourth, fifth, and sixth lord. Fourth and fifth trading places with sixth lord. Anyway, let's move right along because there's a lot to cover, and I want to get through everyone. So Paul Cézanne, excellent, beautiful painter, revolutionary, changed the game. With it, he was actually the forefather of Cubism because he painted very blocky strokes, but beautiful painter, and very kind of almost like a bricklayer, right? He's bringing in a very strong fourth house element. That's the bricklaying, also the Capricorn influence as well, right? He painted like bricks, and that was one of the criticisms people had of his, that he was like more like a mason than an artist, but highly creative, highly sensitive, with Uranus and Moon in Pisces in the 5th house, along with North Node, South Node Mars, Jupiter in the 12th, and Venus conjunct Neptune in Aquarius. So Venus conjunct Neptune, that's again in the 4th house. That's highly creative. 3rd, 4th, 5th activation there. You can see a really nice combination. Like, and if you look at his paintings, it's just like it's a really interesting combination of like this earthy bricklaying quality that we get from the Mercury and the Sun, to this really, really beautiful colors that we're getting more from the Moon and Uranus and Pisces and North Node in the 5th house, right? So that's interesting. Moving right along, Marc Chagall. I don't know. He was in there, and he's not like a painter that's very highly regarded. I mean, he is in some sense, but I don't know. I'm not crazy about him, but he is a painter. He's famous. So let's see. Venus is in Virgo, 0 degrees, conjunct the MC, although the MC is in Leo. Mars in Gemini, Pluto's in Gemini. Let's see here. Saturn's in Cancer. Not a lot of great dignity going on, but let me just hold on. Okay, Saturn. So okay. So Saturn has actually 3 mutual receptions. I only count the ruler and the exaltation, but Saturn, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. Let's look at that. Saturn, Moon. Okay, that's good because Saturn's not very good in Cancer. Saturn, Moon, and that would be 9th and 3rd, definitely 3rd and 4th, and then Saturn, Jupiter. Yeah, that one's really strong actually because of the degrees, and so that's 9th and well, Jupiter. So so Saturn would be the exaltation lord of the 12th house as well. So it's bringing in the 12th house influence to Saturn, and Saturn is ruling the 3rd and 4th. So anyway, Saturn's picking up some of that, but it is kind of it's not like a super strong chart. So maybe that's why he's not super famous. Let's keep going. Da Vinci, the master. It's just the master. Let's not mess around. He's the master of arts. Okay. Venus is in Taurus in the 6th house. Sun's in Taurus. Jupiter in domicile in Pisces, along with Moon. And then look how spread out his chart. Saturn's exalted in Libra. Look at all these trines. The guy was so talented in so many different areas, right? You can see that just by how spread out his chart was, by how harmonious it was too. And all these really tight, strong angles correlate to his obsession with geometry, right? The Vesuvian man, the perfect thing. You can see that with how the spread out, but aspecting each other. How all these planets are aspecting each other very tightly. He does have a very strong Moon square, or Sun square Pluto, but Pluto's in Leo. Sun rules Leo, so it's not terrible. It's not bad at all. And Chiron's right in the middle of that. So, very creative, destructive, and like high imagination. And then he was also known for he was one of the first people to like dissect cadavers to understand the musculature. I don't know if he was one of the first, but he did that. And then Neptune conjunct the MC, exalted Saturn, in the 10th house. So highly effective. Ascendant Lord Jupiter is in Pisces, creative, 3rd house, drawing, Sun in the 5th house. All right, you get it. Excellent, excellent chart. Yeah. Keep moving. I got a lot to cover and I don't want to take too long because then it gets boring. Dali. Everyone loves Salvador Dali. Everyone had, like, as a kid, you know, if you had a poster of Salvador Dali, it was like, yeah, cool. Like, of course, why not? Like, yeah, I didn't, but a lot of people did. Surrealism. Okay. So Venus in Taurus, dignifying Sun, Mercury, and Mars. So yeah, the Taurus influence for any artist that's, you know, that's going to be obvious. What else? Yeah, the Saturn. So Saturn's also in dignity and domicile in Aquarius, and square the Sun really tightly. So I was asking myself, why surrealism? Why? Okay, he's a very talented painter, but why surrealism? Well, one thing is that the square is going to make a person work really hard, and with this really strong Taurus house, square Saturn, Saturn's ruling the 7th and 8th. That's not really. I mean, the 8th house you could maybe, especially in Aquarius, for the weirdness, for the, I don't know, for the certain, like, I don't know, quality of definitely the weirdness relates to Aquarius, but a certain secret hidden depth you could possibly draw from the 8th house. But the square is going to challenge him to really to be very Saturnian, especially when Saturn's in good dignity in Aquarius, which is the hyperrealism. However, the surrealism, the imagination comes from this, with Neptune in Cancer squared by Moon conjunct the MC in Aries, right? And Moon's rules Cancer. Moon is the ascendant lord, but the square is going to really pull out the fantasy. Neptune's in the 12th. It's in a watery sign, in a watery house, and it's challenging. It's in a tense aspect with the Moon, so it's really pushing that Moon to be highly creative. Also, South Node is in Pisces, you know. So the fantasy, the surrealism, the unreality comes from this square. This, you know, makes him very strange and kind of delusional in a, I don't know, delusional, but like fantasy oriented. Pluto's in Gemini. It's probably helpful. North Node in the 3rd house in Virgo. So again, re-emphasizing this exact perfect quality that he had with his paintings, right? Okay, let's keep going. Edgar Degas. So he painted sometimes I have to refresh my memory. Degas painted ballerinas. Hold on, I just want to, I'm just gonna pause it for a second. Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to pull up Degas, just so, I don't know, this felt like refreshing my memory and refreshing yours. Ballerinas. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. All right. This is his chart. Let's see here. Really all over the place, first of all. But let's see, what are we looking for? I mean, Pluto's in the 2nd quadrant, but 3rd, coming up on the 3rd house cusp. And then these are in the 3rd. Mars, I mean, Jupiter, and it's coming up on the 4th house, but it's still Gemini, North Node in Gemini, right? Sun's in Cancer. Let's pull up the sheets here. See what's going on. I did no intense study of these charts right beforehand, so it's like I kind of have to refresh my okay, very, very slow Mercury. See that? Very slow. So that's for drawing. That's excellent. Moon's out of bounds and in Capricorn. Saturn's exalted. And Moon Mars has a mutual reception by exaltation. Or Saturn. Saturn's exalted in Libra. Trining Jupiter and Gemini. And yeah, Moon Mars are in each other's sign of exaltation. So Mars ruling the third house. Moon's ruling the sixth, but it's basically conjuncting the 12th house cusp moon, and Neptune is in Aquarius in the 12th house. Well, why ballerinas? That's an interesting one. I'm not sure why, but I think it would have to do with 7th house. Maybe this Venus in Virgo, very perfectionist. Venus is in conjunct Neptune, which is really interesting combination because Neptune Virgo is very picky, highly critical of its what it likes. It's also square Chiron, so there's that 0 degree interesting aspect with Neptune. So this is a really interesting one because Virgo is very uptight and critical, and then Neptune, especially in Aquarius, is going to be very in the 12th house, very creative, very out of the box, very kind of weird and strange. So a lot going on here. Right. Very interesting. Saturn exalted in the 8th quadrant. 9th whole sign house, but 8th quadrant, because it is still trying the ascendant, so it's not super bad. And then Saturn's the ascendant lord, right? Okay, so 12th house of creativity, and the 1st house, and he's got Uranus in Aquarius, which is in good dignity domicile in the 1st house. So something very independent and shocking, and I mean, yeah. You like painting young girls in ballerina outfits, so I think that's North Node in Gemini in the 5th house. That's I mean 5th house for creativity and children in Gemini drawing. Anyway, let's keep going. Marcel Duchamp. All right, Marcel Duchamp, nude descending a staircase, and Armut urinal in the museum. Urinal and art gallery. He's the first, and so he was a contemporary artist, and quite excellent cubist, but really transcended cubism to go into I don't know what you call it, postmodernism or something. I don't know. Don't really care too much for the details. So he's got Moon right on the ascendant, but it's in Scorpio, so deeply intense. And then let's see, Mars is in Cancer along with Saturn. Talk about poor dignity, but for the arts, poor dignity planets can work well. Sun's in great dignity. Sun's in Leo with Mercury. Venus in Virgo, also not great. But Saturn, and we just saw this with, who was it, Marc Chagall? Saturn and Jupiter are mutual reception exactly by square. So that's really interesting, right? And interesting, as far as I'm concerned, takes the cake over just pure, you can have really strong chart with lots of exalted and domicile planets, but if it's really interesting, a mix of dignity and, good dignity, poor dignity, and then some mutual receptions, that's going to be really good because it's going to be so strong. So interesting when you have these things, especially when they're exactly at the right degree. This square is really, really powerful. And of course, it's bringing in the 12th house. 9th house is, that's, I mean, for art, it's not, I mean, 9th house is very high-minded. So you can produce some very highly conceptual or very philosophical art. Let's put it that way, with the 9th house influence. And Saturn's ruling the 3rd house. And it's not really in the cusp here, but South Node, it's ruling the South Node. And then the ascendant and moon are square the nodes by 2 degrees. So there's something very destined about Marcel Duchamp and this 9th house, this very high-minded quality of art he has. But moon on the ascendant, however you, in any sign, is extremely expressive. So yeah, extremely talented. I mean, go look up Nude Descending a Staircase. It's amazing. All right, MC Escher. You probably know of MC Escher with his drawings of like the staircases and the things that don't make sense, and excellent artist. Tremendous Gemini stellium here with Mercury and Gemini, right? I mean, do we need to see anything else? Well, maybe. But Neptune, Pluto, Mercury, Moon, Sun. Mars in Taurus. Sun's the ascendant lord. Venus is in Cancer, but it's in the 12th house along with South Node. So very creative. And North Node in the 6th house. Here's a mixed reception when they're the lords of different, so like Saturn's the exaltation lord of Libra, Jupiter is the domicile lord of Sag. So, there's something going on here. Mercury is ruling the 3rd house, right? So Mercury in Gemini, it's in domicile, and it's ruling the 3rd house. So the drawing is really, really, and Jupiter at 0 degrees, Jupiter brings success and expansion and good things. So the 3rd house is highly, highly activated with MC Escher. Okay. For drawing. Paul Gauguin, friends with Vincent van Gogh, and he did very beautiful colorful paintings, especially of native women. I forget where he went. He went to some foreign land and drew the natives there, but he also roomed with Van Gogh. All right, and for bright colors, a lot of times you'll see strong Leo influence, so Leo ascendant. Okay, Gemini, Sun and Venus in Gemini, similar to me, but in a different house, 10th house. Venus is ruling the MC. Jupiter in Cancer along with Mercury. Mars in Leo. South Node Saturn Pisces. Neptune in Pisces on the 7th. So opposite Moon in Virgo. So definitely very attracted to others, especially Neptune plays big in all arts, of course. Out of bounds Mercury, that's pretty unusual. And then Neptune is very slow. We'll check that out. And then Moon and Mercury, mutual reception. Right. Yeah. So Moon, Mercury, that's really strong. Yeah. Moon, Mercury, mutual reception. And then check Neptune out. Boom. 2 days. Yeah. So this is a very, very slow Neptune. So very potent. His ability to sort of imagine and fantasize about others, especially in Pisces, is very extreme. Uh, yeah, Moon is ruling the 12th house. So Jupiter in Cancer, exalted here. Moon's ruling in 12th. So very strong 11th, 12th house. 12th house, you could say, because yeah, the cusp. So anyway. We would also look for, yeah, Jupiter ruling the 5th house on the 12th house cusp. Perfect for an artist. Let's keep moving. Frida Kahlo, I have her on here twice, but we'll just look at her once. I always found this one amazing because Frida Kahlo obviously impaled by a pole when she was young. And look at this opposition. Incredible, right? Okay, so Sun in Cancer, opposite exactly Mars in Capricorn. With the 6th house cusp, 6th house of health, close by with South Node exactly conjunct the 6th house cusp. And then Uranus conjunct Mars. Uranus is trauma. Uranus is accident. Mars and Uranus together is physical accident, right? And maybe you wouldn't expect this in Capricorn, but well, she lived and she survived, right? And the opposition is tricky because, yeah, Mars is dignified in Capricorn, but it's not dignified in Cancer. It's violent in Cancer, right? So yeah, here it's good, but here it's not good. But Jupiter is in Cancer. And then so Sun, as far as her being an artist, Sun conjunct Neptune, Sun conjunct an exalted Jupiter with North Node, and then Venus conjunct Pluto in the 12th, and then exalted Moon in conjunct the MC in Taurus. And if you look at her art, it is very disturbing, right? So she is bringing a very strong Plutonian quality in there. Right? Mercury's in the 12th with Leo, so still bringing in that bright, colorful, spectrum of light. Let's see what else. Let's look here. Slow Mercury. Saturn looks very slow. Let's check that out. Exalted, Jupiter, Mars, Moon. That's 3 days. 3 days. So this Saturn also is very potent, very strong. And Saturn is ruling the 6th and 7th. So interesting. And her relationship actually was with was it Diego Rivera? Am I saying that right? He was a Mexican muralist, also a famous artist. Right. So 7th house in the 8th house. And he had tons of affairs. Right. So 7th Lord in the 8th. But yeah, that's interesting. And 6th Lord in the 8th. 6th Lord in the 8th is supposed to be good. Because it turns a negative situation into a positive one. And she started painting, after she had her accident. I remember she was painting before, but also like look at the inconjuncts here to this 6th house cusp and South Node. South Node's the past, right? Saying it. That's Frida Kahlo. Let's keep going. Paul Klee, a lesser known artist, but we'll just take a quick look. So Venus, obviously in detriment on the ascendant, but for arts, beauty, passion, it's creativity that's quite strong. Also Mars, and then so Mars and Venus mutual reception here, so that's going to be quite good. And then Neptune playing into there, and Chiron, Pluto, Saturn in Aries not so good, not so strong. Jupiter's in domicile in Pisces in the 4th house. North Node Capricorn. So North Node to basically conjunct the 3rd house cusp for artists, very strong. Jupiter in the 4th, but it's ruling the 5th, so it's the 5th house cusp. Is also very strong. Here. And then Venus ruling 12th in the 1st with a mutual reception. It's in poor dignity, but it becomes interesting, right? With the mutual reception with Mars. So does Mars. All right, let's move right along. when a planet's in poor dignity, but it has a mutual reception that gives it dignity, that's super interesting. Rene Magritte, another surrealist, but Rene Magritte, I'm just gonna I'm gonna pull up because this is super duper interesting. You probably don't know all that much about him, but look at it. He does all these images with things on the face. Okay, bird on the face, pipe on the face, surrealistic. So the face is missing here. Face is turned around, bird in the face, right? Penis nose. But they're all about the face or the body, right? Look at this one. Birdhouse body. Apple face, apple head. Weird egg rock behind his head. But then look at his chart. It's all about the ascendant. Isn't that super duper fascinating? I mean, you cannot get any more literal than this. He's doing all these things with the face, and this is the face, right? Okay. It's Sagittarius ascendant. And Jupiter is in Libra in the 11th house. And maybe a mixed reception here with Saturn, because Saturn's exalted in Libra. Oh, but also Venus. So Venus would be the main one. Venus rules Libra. Jupiter rules the ascendant. Moon's in very creative Pisces in the 3rd house. Mars in creative Leo in the 5th house. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Check here. Venus is retro and out of bounds. Mercury is out of bounds. Yeah. Oh, Moon, Sun, Mars, mutual reception. Already got the Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, so Sun, Mars. Let's check here. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Because Sun's at 29 degrees of Scorpio and Mars is in Leo. So that's interesting. Yeah. All right. Let's keep going. Edouard Manet, excellent painter. Really just beautiful painter. I mean, there's not that much. There's a lot to talk about with Manet, but you know, I mean, among artists, he's just a really exceptional painter. Leo ascendant again for the arts, the creativity, really, that's good. Moon in the 3rd house. A lot of 6th house activity here in Aquarius. So just generally speaking, hardworking, regular, daily, nose to the grindstone, getting stuff done. Mercury and Neptune in Capricorn. So he had a very, I mean, he was just really good. And Capricorn is, is going to be hardworking sign. Venus conjunct Mars in Sag, so that's very passionate, right? On the 5th house, 5th, 3rd. Let's see here. Very slow Mercury. So for drawing. Chiron seems to be exceptionally slow. Saturn, Mercury, neutral reception. Yeah, Saturn, Mercury, yeah. Saturn ruling the 6th and 7th in the 1st. Mercury ruling the 2nd and 11th. Interesting. I think this more position-wise, 5th house, especially with Neptune here. Yeah. he was excellent painter, but also quite weird, and that's where the Aquarius comes in. Like he just did weird things. You'll have to research him. I don't want to spend too much time going over this, but Chiron is square the nodes. Chiron's basically conjunct the MC, and I think it's very slow. 2 days, yeah, from station. So this Chiron, and just go look at his paintings. He does some weird stuff, like luncheonette in the grass, nude Venus. But anyway, MC and Venus, MC and Taurus, with Venus conjunct Mars in the fifth house cusp. Right. Let's keep going. Henri Matisse, excellent artist. Again, Leo ascendant, a lot of Leo ascendants. So Leo ascendants, you can be, very creative, highly creative. Moon conjunct Saturn, Capricorn stellium, Sun, Mercury, Mars, exalted Mars in the 6th house, conjunct South Node. Right, Mars dignifying the Sun, the ascendant lord. North Node, Uranus, and he was like, especially as he got older, like his art just became very, very odd. It's on the 12th house cusp. Not bad, just like different, very independent, exploratory, revolutionary. Jupiter, again, MC in Taurus, Jupiter conjunct the MC, along with Pluto. Let's just check here. Neptune seems quite slow. Three days. Yeah. Neptune, 9th house, very slow. So for an artist to have a very potent Neptune, that's, very excellent. Let's keep going. And just one last thing. Matisse was known for exceptional color usage, bright, vibrant colors that he played a lot with colors, right? And so that's Leo ascendant, and then dignified by Mars in the 5th house, Sun in the 5th. And then actually, Moon also is in the 5th quadrant, right? Jupiter's the 5th lord. Jupiter conjunct the MC. All right, let's keep going. Michelangelo. Painter of the Sistine Chapel, also excellent sculptor and architect. Okay. So for painting, drawing, 3rd house, 5th house. For sculpture and architecture, 4th house in Cancer. Right. Okay, so Sag ascendant, South Node. But look, stationary. Venus stationary in the 4th house. Exactly in the 4th house, right? And then Mars in Pisces, which is Venus's sign of exaltation, along with Sun and Moon. Jupiter in Aquarius, North Node in Libra, North Node conjunct the MC, activating this Venus. This Venus is trine the ascendant. So it's conjunct the IC, but it's also trine the ascendant, and that's really potent. This Venus is everything for Michelangelo. Of course, Neptune conjunct Uranus, Scorpio, Grand Water Trine. It's wide, but it's still there. With Saturn in Cancer. Saturn in Cancer is not very great. And he was a loner, actually. So this is the 7th house. I think he may have been gay. but he spent most of his time alone. Yeah. So I want to do, at one point, I'm going to compile a whole, astrology of gay and bisexuality, but you'd look to, there's always something funny going on with Venus and Mars with gay people, gay and bi people. So that's there's something funny going on here. But anyway, this Venus is super duper potent. And then Jupiter is ruling the third house. It's in the second. It's also the MC. It's in Aquarius. But yeah, second house is still going to play in for all the arts because it's a very sensual place. Let's keep going. Modigliani. For those of you who are not familiar, you got to see this guy. You got to see his art. Italian. Beautiful portraits he does. Strange, a little strange. These are contemporary. These are, I don't know, postmodern or whatever. I don't know what you call it. Right? Long necks, dark eyes, that sort of thing. Beautiful, highly expressive. Okay. He's got Mars and Uranus in the first house. So whenever, like, especially for artists, what's really easy to tell is their treatment of the face is going to be represented by the first house or ascendant lord, right? So he's got Mars and Uranus in Virgo. So definitely the weirdness, but very strong aesthetic quality as well. We got Sun, Venus, Mercury all tightly conjunct in Cancer in the 11th house, Moon in Pisces, very strong Gemini MC with Neptune in Taurus. Let's see here. Venus retro, so his aesthetic is going to be a little off the beaten path, a little backwards. Nothing really exceptional there. North Node in, so Mars is ruling the third house in the first house, along with Uranus. Saturn's ruling the fifth, and Saturn's square in the 10th in Gemini. Mercury would be the MC Lord, conjunct Venus. Mercury is also the ascendant Lord. Venus is for creativity. All right. Let's keep going. Georgia O'Keefe. She did the flowers and the skulls. Midwestern girl. Vaginal flowers. Her flowers are vaginas, in case you did not get that analogy. Very big vaginal flowers, but you know, what do you expect from a Scorpio ascendant, Sun, Moon, stellium, Jupiter, Mercury, right? Vaginal flowers and skulls. I mean, sex and death. I mean, that's really sums up her Scorpio. And then mutual reception between Mars and Mercury, because they're in each other's signs. Mercury ruling the MC, and Mars ruling the ascendant. Saturn ruling the third. Saturn's in Leo along with North Node. So North Node North Node conjunct Saturn, pulling in the third house, obviously. Fifth house, Jupiter. Jupiter's in Scorpio, conjunct the ascendant. Fifth house, conjunct the ascendant. Venus in Libra, conjunct Uranus. Definitely a very shocking aesthetic, but very good dignity there. So yeah. Pretty interesting. I have no idea about her sexuality. I just know that her paintings were vaginas. It's not uncommon for artists to paint vaginal images. I mean, you see that a lot. I've done it. All right, Pablo Picasso. I've looked at his chart before. Amazing. Taurus stellium. You get Saturn, Neptune, Chiron, Jupiter, Pluto, all retrograde. North node in Sag conjunct the moon. Sun, Mercury in Scorpio in the 4th house. Venus in Libra, Venus in domicile in the 3rd house. Okay. Very potent 3rd house. Even though the 3rd rule is Mercury. Mercury is basically conjunct the 5th house cusp. And moon north node in the 5th square. Squarely in the 5th. And then moon's in conjunct Saturn, but moon's exalted in Taurus, so that's not it. It in conjunct will create a lot of tension, but it's not going to be negative tension. It's going to be tension that kind of resolves itself. Mars in Cancer in the 12th. That's an interesting one. Again, Leo ascendant for artists. Very common. Right? Mars in the 12th. That's interesting because it's in Cancer. So there's a lot of hidden sexuality here, right? Hidden sex and violence. And as far as creativity is concerned. But yeah, very, very powerful artist. He's got this Taurus stellium. So MC Lord Mars is in the 12th. So that's interesting. Taurus stellium with the dispositor Venus in Libra in the 3rd. So that's really strong there. Anyway. It's got some nice trines going on here and some oppositions as well. And you can see the retrogrades in his paintings. Like they're all weird. They're all like, if you look at his art, it's very weird, twisted, backwards. A lot of it is just like, doing things the wrong way. Not the wrong way, but it is the wrong way, but he made it the right way. And that has to do with these retrogrades. Very strong retrogrades and oppositions. Right. In any case. When all the planets are flowing, then you see the person's creation expression will be very flowing. When there's a lot of retrogrades, then you get like this very discordant kind of aesthetic that either works or doesn't work. Jackson Pollock is next. So Jackson Pollock was a unsuccessful artist doing postmodern or whatever. All these names, like somebody comes up with them. This is the blah blah era. Like who gives a shit what you call it? Like it is what it is. Right? It's like, anyway, he was at the time when he was, and he did what he did. But his chart's all over the place. Look how spread out it is. And then just kind of reminds you of Jackson Pollock painting, right? It's just like he discovered it. He was doing these paintings that just weren't successful. Then he just like took a, I think it was like went into his garage, laid out canvas, bought some house paint, took a mixer, and just like, let's do this color. And then he's like, wow, that looks cool. But he's got exalted moon, Taurus ascendant, so Taurus for arts, obviously. So it's Taurus stellium, Saturn, moon and Mars and ascendant, all in. So moon's dignifying the whole ascendant, and Venus is the ascendant lord in Sagittarius. Jupiter's in Sag in the 7th, so it's dignifying the 7th, 8th house, and Venus, so the ascendant lord, right? Uranus, although slightly it's out of sign from the MC. It is the MC, one of the MC lords, because it's the co-ruler of Aquarius, and as well as dispositing the sun. Sun's very strong in the 10th house. But Uranus is shocking, right? And revolutionary and new and different and progressive. And so his invention, his artistic creation, his artistic contribution was this kind of abstract Jackson Pollock style. What else can you say about it? Moon's the third lord in the first house in Taurus. Fifth lord in the ninth in Capricorn. In any case, yeah, that's Jackson Pollock. Raphael, a Renaissance, an Italian Renaissance artist. Not a Ninja Turtle, well, also Ninja Turtle, but for this purpose, he's just the Italian Renaissance artist. All right, what do you got? Exalted Sun. He's got a Scorpio ascendant. A lot of fixed ascendants, fixed sign ascendants. A lot of Leo ascendants, some Taurus ascendants, some Scorpio ascendants. Saturn, South Node, ascendant Moon, Scorpio. Jupiter in Libra, conjunct Pluto. I really don't know his art that much, but it doesn't matter that much. We're just looking for the artistic impetus here. Well, third lord in the 12th, but South Node. So strong familiarity with the third lord, Saturn. And then fifth lord is, well, I would take it to be, I would look here, exalted Sun conjunct Venus in Aries, along with Mercury. And then North Node in Taurus. All right. And then Venus is ruling the 12th house cusp. And let's just see here. What do we got going on? A lot of retrogrades. Mercury and Mars. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah. Not exactly by degree, not strong by degree, but and some inconjuncts. I don't know enough about his work to make sense of this or his life, really anything, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. So this is a Renaissance artist, one of the more well-known ones, but not the most famous. Okay, let's look at Renoir. Renoir, excellent painter. A little like he did like some weird stuff. A lot of artists find him, including myself, a bit too fluffy and fruity. Like especially like later he did these like pink nudes, these fat pink nudes, and they're just like, okay, dude, what are you doing? Like it's weird. But he's got Aquarius ascendant, again, a fixed sign ascendant with Neptune and North Node on the ascendant. So Aquarius ascendants with Neptune and North Node, they paint fluffy, big, fat pink nudes, I guess. I don't know. Mars in Scorpio, so definitely sexual, potent. But look at this. Look at the blue. Look at the grand fire trine with the kite, finishing it off right at the ascendant. I mean, truly an excellent painter, just kind of weird and fruity. I mean, Jupiter in the 10th house, in Sag, in domicile. Come on. Mars in Scorpio, Saturn in Capricorn. Dude. I mean, he's got Moon, Pluto, Venus in Aries with the domicile Mars. The Sun, Uranus, Mercury in Pisces in the 2nd house. So third lord Mars is in domicile in the 9th house. Mercury, no. Mercury is the 5th lord. And maybe this is why he's quite fruity, because Mercury's in Pisces, so Mercury's not great dignity, but it is, Mercury conjunct Uranus is a sign of kind of like intellectual genius. So even still, he's quite an exceptional painter, impressionist. The Mars, he's got, I mean, talk about dignity. And then Venus and Sun are in each other's sign of exaltation. Some mutual reception there. So, and very, very interesting. Very interesting. Not my favorite painter. Not a lot of artists' favorite painter, but nobody can deny what an exceptional talent he is. He painted skin almost better than anyone. Like his skin, the texture, the quality of skin that he could paint was like glowing, amazing. Auguste Rodin, he is a sculptor. So this one was kind of interesting because sculpture is very physical. So for sculpture, I would think Cancer, fourth house, right? Moon, potentially. So Moon, we have Moon in Gemini. So Gemini, skills of the hands, Moon, Cancer, physicality, sculptor. And in case you're not familiar with Rodin, he did the Thinker. And there's the Rodin Museum in Philly. And then, of course, his career. So his career is in Scorpio. His MC, sorry, Sun and Jupiter. So that's, you know, greatly contributing to career success. Saturn, Venus, Mercury, and then Saturn and Venus, that actually makes sense also with Mercury, because Saturn's going to crystallize whatever it touches, and so Venus is going to be Venus is ruling the fourth house, right? So the sculptural quality, the crystallization of that. South node Leo, north node Aquarius, north node conjunct Neptune. But also this square, Mars and Virgo, and Mars is square Saturn and Venus. So the square also brings out a very physical quality because what? Fourth house is square to the ascendant. That's why. So Saturn and Venus, which are already very crystallized creativity, are square Mars. Mars bringing in a further, let's see, Mars ruling the MC, Saturn's ruling the ascendant, Venus ruling the fourth house. So I think this square is adding to this tendency to want to create something very physical. That's my analysis. Also, Uranus seems to be squaring in between Mercury and Venus. And that's, I mean, I don't know how Uranus is playing into sculpture. Well, it makes it more radical, revolutionary. It's in Pisces. Pisces is a very creative sign. In any case, that is Rodan. Egon Schiele. Now, probably a lot of you don't know Egon Schiele, so I got to show you what Egon Schiele looks like, or rather his artwork. You might have seen it before, some of his stuff, but really, really interesting artist. Did very, very strange self-portraits, but also like some very sexual nude. And it's not pulling those up, but anyway, like very graphic nudes. He was, I mean, this guy's like sort of like punk rock before punk rock was famous. Look at him. Okay, anyway. Egon Schiele. Venus and Chiron right on the ascendant. So note the weird facial aesthetic going on. Sun conjunct North Node in Gemini in the 12th house. Mercury in Gemini stationary. This super conjunct Neptune, exact, and Pluto. It's super powerful right here for this, you know, drawing really very creative, but powerful, destructive, plutonic quality. Moon in Aries in the 10th house. Jupiter in the 8th, which is the MC Lord in Aquarius, and so the sexuality, heightened sexuality. You should see some of his paintings. I mean, he was like almost like pornographic, you know, like two girls touching each other or one girl touching another girl. This Mercury is everything. It's in domicile in Gemini, and it's stationary. It's like super duper potent. I mean, that pretty much says it right there. Like his drawing, powerful drawing. Even if, and it's conjunct the 12th house cusp. It's ruling the 12th house, conjunct the 12th house cusp. Ruling the I see 4th house cusp, but third whole sign house. So that's enough. I mean, don't really need more than that. Moon is squaring Venus and Chiron, but it's also the ascendant, but it rules it. So that's a good square. Happy square. All right, let's keep going. Van Gogh. Everyone knows and loves Vincent van Gogh. Van Gogh. Okay. Cancer ascendant. So here we're looking at the 6th house, which is interesting. And he, you know, painting was his regular daily routine. Jupiter and Sag. Okay, Jupiter, Moon. Jupiter, Moon, and Sag, South Node, 6th house. Moon's the ascendant lord. Sun, exalted in Aries. Moon, exalted in Pisces. Venus, exalted in Pisces. Venus conjunct Mars, conjunct the MC, with Neptune not too far away in Pisces. Highly passionate, highly creative. Pisces, and then Venus and Mars together are really, really intensely passionate, right? And then Neptune for the creativity. And then Sun is dignifying this. Mercury, some strong Taurian influence here. All his planets are prograde, no retrogrades. Remember when we were talking about Picasso with everything's backwards and twisted. With Van Gogh, everything flows. So very slow Mercury for drawing, but nothing retrograde. You see? Nothing is retrograde. That's why you get like this flowing, beautiful, you know, patterning with his artwork. Really exceptional. North Node in Gemini in the 12th. Yeah, so he was crazy, right? Where are we gonna see that? That's partially, I don't know, 6th house, Neptune, Mars, Venus, Neptune. I think this Pisces quality in any case. To do a deep dive another time. I already looked at it, so. Edouard Villard. He's a lesser known artist, but I had him in my charts, so I just decided to include him. So Venus in Libra, along with Moon. That's the 2nd house. 3rd is Scorpio with Mercury and Sun. North Node conjunct the 3rd Lord in the 12th house in Leo. So that's very creative right there. And then let's just check here. Mercury's retro. Sun and Mars, mutual reception. Yeah, of course, and perfectly square with each other. So that's gonna be super interesting, right? Now, when there's a mutual reception, I mean, these are not in terrible dignity on their own, but it's still good, right? It's still bringing in a lot of interesting things going on. The moon is also square Uranus, moon ruling Cancer, so that also is another interesting square. Tension that kind of resolves itself. Let's keep going. Andy Warhol. Another Leo ascendant with a very powerful Sun, and then Mercury, Venus, Neptune. Venus, Neptune, also highly creative. Mercury for drawing. Grand fire trine. I mean, and the ascendant icon, right? It's either the face or just iconic, right? Whenever you have a very strong, also the person themselves becomes very pronounced. Andy Warhol himself, it wasn't just his art. It wasn't like, oh, the famous Andy Warhol art, never mind Andy Warhol himself. Andy Warhol himself was the center of the whole art scene in New York at that time, right? It's due to a very strong ascendant with Sun, Sun and Leo ascendant with Sun, conjunct the ascendant, exactly. Like this, highly creative, highly dignified. Venus, Neptune, Mercury. I mean, Venus ruling the third house. And then the South Node conjunct the fifth house cusp along with Saturn, North Node Gemini, and then Taurus MC with Jupiter. Jupiter brings success. And Mars. And then, Uranus conjunct the moon in any sign is going to create a very kind of revolutionary internal mindset, but also very like a lot of nerves as well going on there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's a little square between Moon and Pluto, but Moon rules Cancer, so it's not so bad. Strong square between Mars and Neptune. But again, that's Neptune, so Neptune is very creative and imaginative, so it's not going to, I mean, that'll be create some sort of, for an artist, I don't think it's a problem. For somebody more practical, that'd be kind of quixotic, right? Chasing after windmills, sort of thing. All right, let's keep going. One more, Whistler. And if you don't know Whistler, well, just look at all this blue, and then we're gonna look up Whistler just because it's worth knowing. Whistler's mother is the most famous painting. Yeah. All right. So this is the artist, but this is his most famous iconic painting, Whistler's Mother. I love this one. It's great. I love the black, the heaviness of it, the dark, and then her face is lit up, and it's it's the gray, black, white. It's beautiful though. This is a famous Whistler painting. All right. Look at all the blue lines. Look at all the trines. It's fantastic. Right? And you saw what kind of painting. It's just like just perfect. This is beautiful. It's subtle. It's not overly dramatic. It's just great. And he's got a sun in Cancer, right? Here he's a Senate Lord in Taurus. Jupiter in Gemini with Chiron, North Node in Gemini, Sun in Cancer, his mother. Right? Mercury conjunct Venus in Leo, very creative. Virgo moon for the exacting quality. Saturn in exalted in Libra in the sixth house, so very hardworking. Capricorn MC with Neptune square in the 10th house for the art. Uranus also in domicile in Aquarius. Nothing extraordinary, just like really, really strong. And so that's like his painting, his art. It's he didn't go for like, shock value. He went for classic, subtle, just beautiful, perfect, and that's, a lot of that's due to this just ability to work really hard and in a very straightforward fashion. I mean, Pluto's in the 12th in Aries, so there's this like kind of underbelly, darkness, heaviness. But yeah, Venus and Mercury in the 5th house in Leo. That's very, very creative. And that's pretty much it. And I love that Sun's in Cancer in the 4th house, and his most famous painting is his mother, dressed in black. Very cool. So yeah, this was a a breakdown of art, fine art, and astrology. And I hope you enjoyed it. I don't want to take any more time. I think I got the gist of it. We got enough. It'd be really interesting to do like a more in-depth comparison. I was thinking like if I do one about musicians, then we can sort of, after I do that, then we can sort of see like, okay, what's the difference between a fine artist and a musician? Like, how do you tell? Like in advance, like if I was going to look at a chart, oh, you're very creative, or you're going to be more of a fine artist, like a visual artist, or a musician. I don't really know the answer to that. That's why I'm bringing it up. It'd be really interesting to figure out the subtleties of that, because a lot of these things are going to be overlapping. Creative people are creative, right? But the person themselves knows whether they are a visual artist or a musician most of the time, right? It's not like a huge, crossover thing. Like all these artists are not, also musicians, and all the musicians are not also artists. There might be some crossover, but a lot of times it's one or the other, right? So that's interesting. And other arts too, like writing would also be a third one we could look at. Any case, that's it for now. I hope you found it interesting. Like, subscribe, share, book a reading with me, and leave a comment down below. I'm not doing individual charts right now, so if you ask me to do so and so, I'm not going to do that. But say something relevant. Don't ask. I'm not a trained monkey. I'm not going to just do what you say. But try and keep it relevant. But that's it for now. I'll see you guys again soon. All right, thanks. Bye.